I was a good swimmer, boy. I was swimming in the ocean before I was 5. We just took a breath and looked down. The water was glass clear. The spires of light came down like a cathedral. It was like in another world. And I never forgot it, so I was hooked. I tell you, I was hooked.
That was such a magic time for me as a kid. I mean, I can't even really describe it.
I just remember thinking it was so cool how weightless I was.
Its forces are so much bigger than us.
At some point, you feel like you become part of it, not apart from it.
It's like a therapy for me when I have problems.
For each of us, it's our own private church, our own private temple.
If I didn't go diving, we didn't have food. I mean, really, that's the truth. So it was like pay a babysitter or take her with me.
Fishing and diving have been like the main activities that my dad and I would do together since I was little. And even when it became something where like our family didn't depend on it to put food on the table, it was just always our favorite way of spending time together.
Yeah, hard to argue when you're underwater, huh? Well, when she was little, you know, she could only go down maybe 6 or 7 feet, you know, and I could dive like 50 feet. And so she wanted to do everything I could do, you know, which I think most kids do. And I just kept pressing into her. It's just about relaxing.
It always mesmerized me how my dad could just dive deep and just go get these fish and hold his breath for so long. And so I would always just practice holding my breath. I'd watch him go down and I would just see if I could hold my breath on the surface. There were definitely times where I would feel scared, where I would realize how deep I was and realize how small I felt. And I would get freaked out, but the minute I saw my dad, like just the minute I just saw his silhouette in the distance, I just knew I was safe.
I used to dive down and be at the bottom and wave at her, and then when she got in her 20s, we went diving together, and we both swam down about 20 feet, and then she waved goodbye and swam down another 50 or 60. I couldn't do it anymore.
It was just an incredible world to be introduced to. It was a world where I could fly. Just being able to watch all the fish down below me, and for once I was the bird in this world.
Kimmy is best known for her spearfishing. And what a lot of people don't realize is it takes an actual incredible amount of knowledge. And there's a lot of different variables. There's that physiological side, just trying to get your body under control and actually almost rewire your body in a lot of ways and take things that are supposed to be involuntary reflexes and being able to control them, like getting your heart rate low and actually changing the way that your body distributes oxygen and blood. Then you have to have the CO2 tolerance.
As I take a drop, and I have to kind of break through this first barrier of atmosphere, but I get to this point where that buoyancy changes and it becomes negatively buoyant. And once that happens, I just start to sink. And that was a feeling that, you know, when I first started doing these deeper drops, it kind of scared me because you feel like you're getting pulled somewhere that you might not be ready to go yet. But the more that I would just surrender to it, it just feels like you're being pulled home.
And then when you hit the bottom, that's when you start, you know, looking at the chest board. You're looking for, you know, cover. You're seeing what other small fish that usually hang around something that you like, or you see a fish off in the distance you want to target.
She has a way of acting like, I'm just another fish out here, don't worry about me, until she brings her spear gun up and nails it. Most of us are obvious humans out there. Kimmy's not.
There's always mixed emotions that come with it. There's a part of me that feels the victory of the catch, the victory of securing this food. And there's another part of me that will always feel compassion and a bit of sorrow for my prey.
I think that when she figured out she could go out and feed herself, that was a life-changing moment for her. She was always a cook. From like 6 years old, she wanted to cook. And to go out and get the fish she wants to get and then cook them, it just opened up a whole new world for her.
To me, there's no better way to honor my catch than to share it with others. I mean, I can see it in people. It makes every single bite mean that much more to them when I tell them how deep I had to dive, or what the ocean looked like, or how many fish there were swimming through a cave, or the shark that almost took it. Whatever the case is, I know that when I share that story, it becomes an experience. It becomes something worth honoring.
I mean, I'd never really been like afraid of sharks, but I wouldn't, when I would see one, I would just act like, you know, you're over there, I'm over here, I'm doing my own thing, but I'd pull my fish in so they couldn't get them. And then if they'd come at me, I would push them away. Where Kimmy, as soon as she sees one, she'll swim right towards it. I never got to that point, you know.
When I first started spearfishing on my own as an adult, I would get pretty terrified if I saw a shark. I think slowly I just started to get more comfortable with them. And then one day I just remember something changed in me where I was pulling in a nice fish that I was gonna bring home for dinner, and this big shark came up to take it, and I just swam faster towards my catch, pulled it in faster, closer to me, everything that was bringing this shark much closer to me, but I got my hands on it and just pulled it in towards me and swam at that shark just to tell it, like, not today, buddy. Like, go get your own dinner. This one's mine. And the minute I did that, that shark took off. And that just taught me a lot. It taught me that the energy that I put out there, the confidence and the courage that I show in holding my ground, it's gonna communicate to the sharks what kind of animal I am.
she's miles ahead of where I ever dreamed of being. I mean, you hear it, people say, oh, you taught her how to dive. I couldn't teach her how to do what she does. That's just nuts. All I take credit for is I got her comfortable in the water. And that's really it.
When you're underwater, there's no street signs, there's no way telling you which way to turn or which way to go. But in the same respect, the signs are everywhere. Everything all of a sudden just goes quiet. And now that it's quiet, I open my eyes and all I hear is my dad's voice saying, just relax and remember how to swim.
I love it. I don't know how to describe it. It's really scary, but so good at the same time. And that's why I do it.
Ko tai mai ma tato mo pra tupuna na ni hot na te mo va na oro me te mo whenua no atia.
Tahiti, yeah? You have to be in the ocean, whatever you do. It has to be ocean related. So sooner or later, it's surfing.
O matai ati tei taurere a piro to te hipa horue whahe. Iahi ona ewo ona mo tata are vihi. I whahe nei te upo ne to te awa o Hawaii. Me a piro ona. I ona ewo e puei atua ona e nene ona ha taho e whaito horu teitei I to hipa o te horue.
Waves from underwater, it's totally different. It looks really nice, like friendly. You think it's not really power, but once you get in it, it just brings you straight on the reef.
You know, coming from Hawaii, I've surfed pipeline, I've surfed some heavy waves here, but the difference in Tahiti and the wave is how much more perfect it is than any other wave I've ever seen. The thing was just surreal looking, and it looked like it would kill you if you fell.
My grandfather and my dad always told me to be humble in the water. First, you have to show respect to nature and the ocean. When I go surf, I always make sure I'm 100% with good health, and especially when there's big waves.
I mean, it's razor sharp reef. If you fall, you're gonna get cut to shit.
I like surfing, yeah? Mostly the fun part, like 6 feet, you know, like it's fun. There's some danger, but minimal, and it's a different thing when you see your kids on much bigger waves. I feel like sometimes like I'm not doing my job as a parent.
Surfing big waves is more like waiting the big swell. Sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. And the stress is always there. You go check the waves and you know it's gonna get bigger, and there's always that thing in your mind telling you, oh, you're gonna have to go for the big one. I don't know, that's how I think every time before I sleep.
If you know it's gonna be big the night before, you're not sleeping much, unless you're good at sleeping. It feels like the whole ocean is sucking up and the sea level is changing. When it's on, there's nothing like it. And here's this local kid, Matahi, who's surfing this wave better or as good as anybody else in the world.
2 years ago, when I was 16, tried to tell us to not surf. We didn't listen and we went surfing, and that was the best day of my life.
So big and so massive and so effed up, just kind of blew everyone's minds. To this date, that's, in my mind, got to be the biggest wave anyone's ever ridden out there.
I didn't realize how big it was, like, at the moment. I made the drop. For a moment, I thought I was gonna die, but that's when you feel so alive.
Feel uncomfortable. Sometimes you feel like you're just melting in your boat watching them.
I really think, like, if you try to go at least one time a day to the ocean, it makes your life better. Every time I come back, and after a good session, even a bad session, I always feel better.
I played piano for a while, and it's like you learn chord structure and you learn, moving your fingers up and down, and you learn all that stuff. And then there's a moment where you actually get to play. And the swimming is like playing. And you don't know what the music's going to be until you're out there.
She represents doing things at the limit of human achievement. Like, what people say, well, why would you swim in Antarctica?
She's been studied in the past and has been shown to have a remarkable adaptation.
The scientists have figured out that I'm able to close the blood flow to the peripheral area of my body really quickly and take that blood and put it into my core.
We were able to confirm that she can maintain stable body temperature with her head out of the water and in water temperatures as low as 44 Fahrenheit. We've got one other person that we know can do that.
I swam the English Channel when I was 15 and 16 years old, from England to France, and I broke the men's and women's world record each time. I was the first person to swim across the Straits of Magellan at the tip of South America, Chile. I was the first person to swim around the Cape of Good Hope from the Atlantic around to the Indian Ocean. Let's see. First woman to swim from the North Island to the South Island across Cook Straits, New Zealand. My folks started us swimming when we were so young, and it was something we did before we could even walk. Coach Gambrell noticed right away that at the end of the workout, when everyone else was tired, I was just picking up my pace. I heard about a group of kids that were going to swim across the Catalina Channel. So I thought maybe if I can swim Catalina with them, that I can maybe do the English Channel. There were times throughout the swim where it hurt so much and I wondered if I'd make it. But after I succeeded on that swim, I just knew that I wanted to do it more. It was where everything began.
In open water swimming, because you don't have a wall that you have to push off of, you don't have to worry. You're even more disconnected from the world and even more internal.
Well, I've always loved just to go in the ocean because I think that the quiet of being in the water, just you are suddenly in your own think tank and you can let in whatever noise you want or not. I think that one of the coolest parts of being in the ocean is being able to swim through a changing sea. A place where you can feel all the energy surrounding you. It's a place where there are no limits, so it makes you think big.
A California woman has managed to cross the gap between the United States and the Soviet Union quite literally. Lynn Cox, an endurance swimmer from California, today became the first person ever to swim across the Bering Strait from Alaska to the Soviet Union. The water temperature was 39 degrees.
Одна храбрая американка по имени Лин Кокс этим летом всего за 2 часа преодолела у плава расстояние между нашими странами. Своим мужеством она показала, как близко живут наши народы друг к другу.
You know, and it's beautiful and it's hard and you want to stop and you have people on board the boat that urge you on and keep you going because it may change the way the United States and Soviet Union deal with each other. And maybe we'll be able to see each other as neighbors and not as enemies. No matter where I go in the world, going into the water, I feel like I'm at home. I can be anywhere, any time of day or night. It's like I'm home.
I'm imagining I'm bringing someone like almost who's blind to the ocean. It's so powerful when I'm in the water. You just go where it pushes you to go.
It harnesses all the power of the ocean and from deep water to almost bone dry in a second. So it's like an underwater mountain. It's so heavy. It's so heavy. Yeah, I'd say it's like 8 feet. That one looks really big. Yeah, so it's going to be on, and it's a rising swell, so it's going to be certainly interesting, to say the least.
Photography kind of fell in my lap, and that was through a workplace incident. Employment options are pretty limited in this area. Mining is a huge employer of everyone, really. It's not like you're trapped, but it's just the well-worn path, so people follow it. You're a miner for life. You're having rock falls, you're having gas outs, explosions, crush injuries. I just had this like sickening crunch, and it was my knee, and I couldn't walk, I couldn't drive. And then I realized that I'm gonna go into a hole here. So I bought a camera, kind of started working out the way that you can manipulate the image to how you want it to be. It felt so natural, and by the time I'd been doing that for, say, 8 weeks, my physio recommended that I start swimming. So I had a camera, I was allowed to go in the ocean, and I bought a water housing. It was kind of a crazy purchase because, it's like several $1,000s, and, you're kind of trying to make ends meet because you're injured and you can't really do much. And man, it was single-handedly the best decision I'd made in my life. The journey of photography for me started as a surf photographer.
What really sets him apart for me is that he went and shot the same places at the same time as loads of different other photographers, even myself included, and would come away with something different. As a photographer, you notice that when someone's got that eye and they see something that you didn't see.
Whenever you put a surfer in frame, in a surfing picture, you have a literal portrayal of what's happening there. Take the surfer out and you're going to lose the reference point. Rather than having a factual representation, you kind of have a fictional one. You come to it, you bring things to it. And that's what I find in Ray's work. He leaves a lot of space there for people to bring things to his work.
The shot is the last thing in a chain of events. It comes from looking at weather maps, wind, tide, where the sun is going to line up. Sometimes I'll plan a single shot for 6 weeks. I quit coal mining 9 months ago. The reason I kind of held on to it for so long because it offered like a financial safety net, and it was a big scary thing to turn my back on a weekly paycheck. I rang my boss and I thanked him for having me, and I told him that I'm not going to go back to the mine. I'm not going to get my tools. I'm not going to get my helmet. I'm not going to get anything. I'm going to leave that whole life there, and I'm never going back. And I'm gonna shoot photos of the ocean.
You know, I needed an escape when I was a kid. It gave me this like amazing place to experience life. I was raised by my mom, and my mom always taught me to really, really share any joy that you have in your life. I make it a point, it's kind of like my duty to do what I'm doing now.
He is exceptionally smart, over and beyond, but he's still 11 years old.
You see a woman like Grandma Shirley. You know, she took in Anthony when he was 6 months old. And you think about what the reasons were for her to do that, that hits me like an arrow in the heart.
I really don't know what happened, but I think my grandma knows. Do you know?
Him and the mother got into it. And what they were separated, and she was trying to get him, and he wasn't letting him go. And she approached him in an altercation, And then after it was over with, she called the police on him, and they took him. And while he was there, he had an asthma attack, and they didn't go see about him. And that's where he passed, in a cell on the floor by himself. And that's what happened to Big Anthony.
And if I can do anything, one thing to help that family, you know, that's why I do what I do. She works really hard, huh?
Works real hard. Take care of me and Grandpa Ray. He can't get out of bed anymore. I help him getting his water, his pills, his drink, his food.
Yeah.
And I do all of that. And my homework.
How's your grades?
My grades are great.
That's what Grandma said.
1 A+,
1 A+?
A minus, and a regular A.
Wow.
A lot of our kids don't have male figures in their lives, or certainly don't have consistent male figures. They don't have a lot of people in their life who really, you know, will say something and then will deliver. You know, if Eddie's promised to take you surfing, he's gonna take you surfing, and he'll do anything he can to make it happen.
Mr. Eddie.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to turn the board, and they say that to use the tail.
Yeah, use the tail.
So you use the tail to steer it too?
Yeah, you know, these kids, more so than most, need that extra love, right? Care, support.
He's really made a difference in a lot of kids' lives. I got to Edgewood 17 years ago. When I got here, Eddie was already here. I mean, I've seen kids sort of before and after, and that sense of connection to the ocean, that sense of belonging, and that sense of sort of calm that comes over them after they've been able to sort of master, or at least begin to master surfing, is really incredible. Eddie really knows how to connect with the kids in ways that, say, their formal therapists might not be able to, or their psychiatrists might not be able to.
I mean, we don't turn down kids. I really try not to turn down kids. And it's almost like my dream would be to drive through the neighborhood with this van, just like, come on, let's go, you know, get the kids to go surfing.
These are kids who have had disrupted upbringings. They live in really poor neighborhoods. They are exposed to a lot of trauma that comes from parents being incarcerated, drug use, a lot of community violence. So, you know, that really impacts a lot of the kids' behaviors and moods, which is what we're treating, because a lot of social skills are worked on when you're outside. Most of the kids have never been to the beach, not even seen the ocean.
I will often show up, I'm like, all right, you guys, let's do this. I know a lot of you can't swim, but we're gonna be there with you. You're gonna put on a wetsuit. If you just wanna play in the sand and roll around and be comfortable in the wetsuit for the first time, you can do that. If you wanna build sandcastles, great. If you wanna boogie, right on. Hand planes, body surf. If you wanna go out the back and get some bombs, that's you. You know, they can do whatever they want at the beach with us.
The sun's on your face, the wind's in your hair, the ocean is at your feet. It's incredible, and it is very therapeutic. Got a couple girls who've never surfed before, never been in a wetsuit. They're having the time of their lives.
It's nice when you get into the water. You feel free. I like surfing because it's another thing I can do in the day instead of sitting home or watching TV. It's fun, but it kind of hurts when you get wiped out by the waves.
I feel like all of them were my best ride.
I can't pick one.
We're going from concrete jungle to nature. Here, the sky's big. There's nothing really impeding your view. No big ships, no bridges, no buildings, just gorgeous.
It's exhilarating. It's a sense of freedom. You know, it's kind of a no boundaries kind of area. You can go as far as your mind will allow you to go. You kind of let go of all the stress and things that you may experience out of this type of environment.
It's the same opportunity that I was given as a kid that I want. And I hope that when I share it with these kids, that it's that escape. It's escape from where your life is and to be able to get away for whatever reason. Allow these kids to get outside of their world and experience something new. And surfing is the vehicle.
I don't like to get too esoteric when I'm talking about the surfing experience. The idea that wavelengths stop and the energy of a wave that's traveled, you know, started perhaps in solar winds between the sun and earth and then has created pressure above our atmospheres and then moved through the upper atmosphere down to create downward pressure, which meets the wind, which the wind then makes enough fetch to create waves, and then we ride these waves, and that it all stops there is not something that everyone thinks happens, that the wave and the energy of the wave stops at the shoreline.
It's his path, you know, he's taken his own way and it didn't matter with him. He was too talented. I didn't think it mattered which direction he was going to go.
Even from a young age, I could see that surfing is something that is intrinsic in living an amazing and blessed and healthy, stoked life. And that's come from literally sitting with people in their 60s and 70s who are still surfing and have that crazy sparkle in their eye and just seem lit up and going, hey, how'd you do that?
Me and my wife were walking on the beach one day and I said, oh, that's Dave Rastovich surfing there. So we stood there and watched him and he came out of the water and he was riding an EPS board and he didn't have a clue who I was, right? So I said, nice board, and he's looking at us going, who are these fucking idiots, you know? And I said, and I talked to him and you could see he was uncomfortable, right? And he wanted to go home on his push bike. And I said, my name's Dick Fairstrala. And then he went, what? And I said, yeah. And I said, I hear you want some boards. And he said, yes. I said, well, just come around to the factory tomorrow. Next day, he came around to the factory with his father, and that was the start of it. You know, he was 15, now he's 35, yeah, nearly 20 years. I make surfboards that challenge people so they think about themselves and think about where they're going in surfing. And Dave really liked that. I challenged every board I've ever made him, I just challenge him.
1 fin, 2 fin, 3 fin, no fin, short, long, fat, flat, wide, skinny, you name it. Just learning from elders and those who have come before us, you see that the most stoked surfers have diversity in their life, and specifically diversity in the way they ride waves. He took me under his wing when I was a 14-year-old, sort of wondering what I wanted to be doing with surfing and life, and, you know, just forming my ideas around that.
Dave and I got picked up about the same time. And next thing you know, we were kind of thick as thieves together. And he was such a talented surfer that we'd all kind of heard this kid from Burleigh who was an amazing tube rider. People ask me who's the best surfer you've ever surfed with and who's the best you've ever seen surf, and I think it's him.
Everyone's unique, but it's all got to do with your build. Like, he's got a very lower centre of gravity. You look at his body, his legs are short, he's got a long upper thing, he's got a concave chest. That's why he body surfs so well. I remember when he said he was never going to compete again, and then he's like, this is it, I'm done, I'm finished. And yeah, he was probably, I guess, he wasn't one for competing. I saw him having trouble way back in the early days with professional surfing. And I said, you don't really like doing this, do you? And he said, no, in surfing it's just a matter of opinion.
And I remember just as a little tacker even going into surfing contests and going out and having a blast and feeling like, man, that was a really good time. I really enjoyed that, coming in and then having someone say, oh no, you're a loser, you just lost. And then coming home and being bummed. I remember feeling like, what's going on with this? Like, I just spent a day at the beach. And then, you know, when someone's like, man, you should be riding 3 fins and 6 feet of foam, it's like, fuck you, there's no way. You got no right to tell me how to surf or to experience the ocean. My partner Lauren just has such a way with words where she talks about meaningful play. I really feel like that's what surfing is. It's just this feeling of it being kind of pointless in the same way art on the wall of your house is not really serving any purpose, but hey, for some reason it feels good to have the art on the wall. And surfing's kind of the same, you know, like we're not getting a meal or anything to show at the end of riding a wave. Any time in my life where something challenging's happened, it's changed everything. It's soothed pains that are really real. I remember when my dad died, I just kept going to the ocean and it made a huge difference. You know, so that's why it's not just play. It's not just this silly thing we go do. It's more meaningful than that.
When you see the beauty of nature like that, like I did it, I mean, it was like out of a clear sky. It just sticks with you for the rest of your life. And I always refresh them in my mind so I never forget them, those memories. And I kind of relive a little bit of it.
Tallest sky I've ever felt. The tallest sky I've ever felt. Dreamt about the place that I haven't been. Walked the line, limb by limb. It's the reason why I am. It's the reason why I am.